I have returned to give you my opinions on the new iPhone SE, and we talk about some possible PlayStation 5 launch plans. So let's get right into it together as a people, of course. And let's go ahead and check it out. Welcome to another sensational Saturday. This is Mike, and this is Mike Texts It Out, where I bring you the tech news, and it is the number one news show currently in my house, hosted by people that aren't wearing any shoes. It's true. I verified these facts with the Guinness Book of World Records. Now, before we hop into it this week, I'm actually going to change it up a little bit. Instead of doing my usual 4 to 5 stories, we're going to focus on 2 stories this week and go a little bit more in depth. So, let me know if you like it or not, but let's go ahead and talk about that new iPhone. So, earlier this week, Apple, stealthily of course, because of everything that's going on, they went ahead and announced the new iPhone SE. A lot of people have been thirsty for it because the iPhone SE originally was a budget phone, and it hasn't been updated in about 4 years. The old one still was using the iPhone 5S design, and you know, it was a good phone. My in-laws actually have one. It's fine. It was a great phone. I think for people that don't really care as much about the form factor or having the latest and greatest, it's fine. Like, it's actually more than fine. The thing with the SE was they gave it the same internals of the current phone that year, and they've done the same thing with this SE. So this iPhone SE is basically using an older design. It's using the iPhone 8 design. It makes sense that it's using the iPhone 8 design because when the iPhone 11 came out, they were still selling the iPhone 8 as a budget phone. So most likely the iPhone 8 is probably going to go away from the official lineup and be quietly discontinued in place of the SE. It wouldn't make any sense to sell them both, especially because the SE is, as we found out, it's only $400, and it's got the same processor as the iPhone 11. So it's going to be better performance, way better performance than the original iPhone 8. And it's coming in at a cheaper price. So yeah, iPhone 8 doesn't make any sense. It's probably going to be gone. They're probably going to be fire selling those things out. The camera is supposed to be improved from the iPhone 8. It's supposed to be closer to the iPhone 11's performance. It only has one camera, so it's supposed to be close to the iPhone 11's main camera. So this could be an outstanding camera for a $400 phone. We'll have to see how it looks in real life, see the real pictures, the Polaroids and the Kodaks and all that. If you know what I'm saying. And then, of course, you get the same features as you get with the iPhone 8, which the original SE didn't have, like water resistance and wireless charging. And then you still have Touch ID. There's no Face ID. And the front-facing camera isn't nearly as robust as the ones that you're going to get on the iPhone 11 or 11 Pro, obviously because it doesn't have that Face ID module. It's still using the old front-facing camera, which I don't think anybody that's buying a $400 phone is really going to care about. So to give you my opinion on the iPhone SE at $400, I think it's an amazing deal, especially for people that don't care about a lot of these features and people that don't care about having the latest and greatest style, with the thinnest bezels. In reality, like, using the phone day to day, it really doesn't matter. The main reason I have the Pro is because I did want the best camera, because I use this a lot of the times for like a secondary camera for my videos, so it is important to me to have that good camera. But aside from that, if we're going down the line performance-wise between the 11 Pro, and the SE, and they're all running the same chip and they all do the same thing, then what's the point of spending the extra money to get these phones other than the design and a few other features? Like, obviously with the Pro, you have the OLED screen. If you went up to the 11, then you still have a bigger screen, and you'd have dual cameras. You have the ultra wide. But these are things where, like, if you don't care about any of those things, then this is definitely the best option to get as far as an iPhone. And so I'm guessing it's going to sell well because it was supposed to release April 24th, but now if you go to order one, it's already pushed out till May. So people are out there. They've been waiting for this phone for a long time. And on top of that, it's a smaller phone, which feels funny for me to say because I have the 11 Pro, which is technically the same size as that phone. And to me, it doesn't feel smaller anymore. I personally like the size. I went up to the Max last year, And I would have honestly kept the 10S if I didn't hate the size so much of the Max. And for a lot of people, they want a smaller phone. They want a more practical phone. That's where I landed at. It was cool having a big phone for a while. And then after I got over like carrying around this big phone, I was like, it makes sense to get the practical phone, not the phone that I think in my mind is cool, but it's impractical to use. So I think for a lot of people, having that small phone will not bother them. They'll probably like it more than having a big phone. And the one thing that I think Apple has struggled with putting out a big phone, and this has been since like the 6 Plus, when they first started doing these bigger phones, is they don't have any compelling features to make you want to buy the bigger phone. Like, what's the difference between this and the Max? The Max has a bigger battery because the phone's bigger. That's it. Like, they're not offering anything software-wise to take advantage of the bigger screen. It's kind of the same thing with this lineup. Like, it's mostly subtle differences across the board. And it just depends on what you're willing to compromise. It depends on what's important to you. But if you want to get on the iPhone train, right now, this is the best option, or pretty much the only budget option, other than going like, used or finding a closeout deal on maybe like an iPhone 8. It might be cheaper. But that's the story. New iPhone SE. And the other thing I wanted to talk about today is the PlayStation 5. So last week, we went over the controller. I did say it looked like some kind of UFO. All right. People had their jokes and their memes and everything about it. It looks pretty cool. But is it cool enough that it's going to sell a system? It's not really about the controller, honestly. So Bloomberg reported that the PlayStation 5 may be limited at launch. So the rumors are, they've heard from inside sources, that Sony's only planning on producing 5 to 6 million units for its first quarter of sales. So to put that in perspective, the PlayStation 4 sold 7.5 million in its first quarter. And it has nothing to do with the pandemic, at least as of right now. Apparently this is the plan, because the other rumor is, or at least what Bloomberg's speculating, they think that it's probably going to cost around $500 to $550, which personally I expect both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, or whatever their lineup is called, the Xbox Series, I expect them to both launch around $500. With everything that they have in those systems technology-wise, I don't, $400 would be a hard mark to hit and probably be profitable. So I think they're both probably going to be around $500 to $550, like Bloomberg is speculating, based on the hardware that's in there, because you're going to have those super fast hard drives. I mean, if you get a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, I know I just bought one for $120, and it's not even as fast as the one that they're putting in the PlayStation 5. I mean, obviously they wouldn't be paying, $120 or $200 each for the hard drive, because they're going to be buying them in bulk. So they're going to be cheaper than that, but still that's giving you an idea of the pricing right now. Like the PlayStation 4 Pro, $400, has a 1 terabyte hard drive, like pretty much a notebook hard drive. Like look how cheap those are. 1 terabyte notebook drive you could probably get for around $50 a consumer. So imagine how much they're paying for it. That's how much more the cost is going to be just for the hard drive. And then, you have AMD's custom CPU and GPU. And then Microsoft is in the same boat. Like the specs for both systems are very close. So I can see, like I said, I think they're probably going to be around that price point. So that's why they're producing less units. If these rumors are true, it's because they don't think that they're going to sell a lot, because they're going to have to sell it at $500. The other thing that Bloomberg reported on is they're probably going to cut prices on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro during this holiday season, which, obviously is expected because they're releasing a new system. But they want to sell a lot of those because now they're saying that Sony wants to focus more on building their ecosystem, PlayStation as an ecosystem, versus just having people to buy consoles, and, and that'll keep them invested. And then eventually they'll probably get a PlayStation 5. So that's what Sony's plan is, according to the information that Bloomberg has. That's what their plan is going into this holiday season with the PlayStation 5 launch. And of course, as of right now, there's no plans to delay it because we don't know how things are going to shake out with this pandemic. But again, it's interesting that Sony is anticipating taking a hit and producing less systems as a result of it, because obviously you don't want to produce too much, because then they're going to be sitting there. retailers are going to have to start marking them down. It's just not going to be a good look for anybody. So it makes sense that they would kind of underproduce. But we'll have to see how it shakes out. In my opinion, there's even less reason this generation to go ahead and buy these systems at launch. We're still going to be in the cross-generational phase for a little while. And there's nothing that's announced on either system that's going to be an exclusive to like the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, especially on the Microsoft side where they're releasing all their games on PC. And they already said that they're still going to support the Xbox One probably for the first year or so that the Xbox Series X is out, as far as releasing games that are going to be compatible for both systems. Aside from, the graphical improvements, which I don't think is going to be a big leap this generation, there's no reason to go out and buy a PlayStation 5 or buy an Xbox at launch. And I think Sony knows that. I think Microsoft probably knows that. I don't think either of them are going to anticipate high sales, especially coming in at a higher price. Microsoft's been building their ecosystem. Like this generation, they really lost. Like they really, sales-wise, comparison to PlayStation 5, like they really took a huge loss. It wasn't even close. But in that defeat, they realized like, oh, we can start building these services like Game Pass. I subscribe to Game Pass and I barely touch my Xbox just because I think they have compelling offers on PC, and I do have an Xbox, and they have a bunch of good games on both, so I feel like it's a service that's worth paying for. And whether or not I buy an Xbox Series X, which I'm probably not going to because I play most of those games on PC anyway, I'm still paying them money and buying their games, and that's what's important. And I think Sony came around closer towards the end of this generation because they were winning, doing what they were doing before, but they wouldn't budge on the crossplay stuff. There was just a lot of stuff that they wouldn't do, and I think now they realize like, oh, this is where everything's going, and Microsoft is ahead of them on this now, so it makes sense to try to focus on building their ecosystem. So I'm interested to see if Sony changes with the PlayStation 5 and what Microsoft's going to do, because they did suffer that big loss, and this is really their fight to come back from and to kind of prove that they can still put out a good system. And I think the Xbox One was a great system, personally, but, they messed themselves up with the marketing. But I'm not going to get into that right now. So that's what I want to talk about. Let me know what you think of the new iPhone and the possible PlayStation shortage at launch. And remember, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and always do at least 2 things at the same time. Peace.